As a millennial, speaking of millennials, I am the sponsor of a bill to cancel out student debt. And I recently saw that one of the ways that we can increase income inequality by like 50% was getting rid of student debt. What are other ways that we can decrease income inequality and increase the ability for millennials to be able to have the ability to have an input in our economy?
All right, welcome back, Patriots. We just saw a snapshot of a congressional hearing, and if you're like me, you immediately noticed the political grandstanding on display. We have a member of the squad here, Rep. Ilhan Omar, attempting to lecture the Congressional Budget Office on fiscal responsibility and income inequality. My immediate reaction is this. The irony is absolutely overwhelming. When a member of Congress, whose personal financial history and actions have come under such heavy scrutiny, tries to turn a serious CBO hearing into a platform for her own political agenda, it feels like a total misuse of taxpayer time. You can already see her baiting tactics emerging in that snippet, trying to steer the conversation toward short-term political wins rather than genuine long-term policy. Director Philip Swagel, however, is trying to hold the line and offer objective, non-partisan answers. We're going to watch the rest of this clip, but if you're tired of the political theater, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below letting me know if you think elected officials should be held to a higher standard of financial and ethical conduct before they try to question others. Let's roll the rest of the clip.
Thank you, Chairman. As you might have noticed, there's a lot of anxiety that is expressed by many of my colleagues when it comes to the income inequality and the disparities that continue to persist in our communities and in our country. We know that over the last 50 years, income inequality has gotten significantly worse. We know that wages have grown stagnant, and the richest Americans are the only ones that have been able to reap the benefits of the economic growth that we've seen in the country. In your report last month, you projected that income inequality will be greater in 2021 than it was in 2016. And so I wanted to see if you can give us an idea of how do the growing levels of income inequality affect consumption, and how would this affect the budget outlooks that you have?
Yeah. Absolutely, and what you said is correct about our report. We show greater inequality in 2021. That has different effects on the economy and the budget. The budget is a little difficult to parse out just because the progressive nature of our tax code means that income at the top is taxed more than income at the bottom. So I can't off the top of my head say what it means for the fiscal situation. And of course, there's negatives, right? Inequality means more spending on transfers and things like that. For the economy, it's a challenge, and it's an important long-term challenge that we know that inequality doesn't have just these short-term effects, but over time, it means a weaker economy and a weaker society. The children of families at the bottom have more difficult situations and worse trajectories. And that, in some sense, is an intergenerational transmission of inequality and of poverty. That's a key challenge for the nation.
Yeah, and as a millennial, speaking of millennials, I am the sponsor of a bill to cancel out student debt. And I recently saw that one of the ways that we can increase income inequality by like 50% was getting rid of student debt. What are other ways that we can decrease income inequality and increase the ability for millennials to be able to have the ability to have an input in our economy?
Okay. So I would look in some sense at the short term and the longer term. The short term, the tax and transfer system affects inequality. It the taxes and transfer reduce inequality, but as you pointed out, in 2021, less than in 2016. So more could be done in the short term with either taxes or transfers. Over a longer horizon, the challenges are instead of more difficult and slower. Education would be a key one, and then all the challenges that sort of help people use their education for their future. Housing, transportation, childcare, elder care, all the things that would make it possible for people at the bottom to work and to have a rising wage profile.
Okay, watching the entire exchange confirms what we suspected. This was pure political performance art designed for a highlight reel, not a serious policy discussion. Director Swaggle, bless his heart, maintained his CBO objectivity throughout, which starkly contrasted with Omar's clear political motivation. Let's break down the major problems here. First, Omar's framing of the problem. She starts with the CBO data, selectively using government reports to establish her grievance narrative, but she immediately leaps to political buzzwords about stagnant wages and the rich reaping the benefits. It's not a question seeking data, it's a political speech disguised as a question. Second, the student debt portion is where her credibility absolutely collapses. She pushes her bill to cancel student debt, but then she's forced to acknowledge the CBO's counterintuitive finding. Canceling the debt could actually increase income inequality. Think about that. Her flagship policy may worsen the very problem she claims to care about. And frankly, given her own ethical baggage, from campaign finance issues to marriage controversies, the idea that she has the moral standing or financial authority to lead a national debate on financial fairness is insulting to the American people. She has no right to question the CBO or her colleagues when she hasn't maintained an unblemished record herself. Third, look at how Swaggle responds. He talks about the non-flashy, difficult structural solutions: education, housing, transportation, and childcare. These are the real, costly, long-term investments needed. He's talking about fiscal reality. She, on the other hand, is setting up her final act. Her closing statement is the culmination of her baiting tactics. She attacks her colleagues for going after Social Security and Medicare, and advocates for creative prioritization. This has nothing to do with the CBO's economic outlook. It's a pre-written soundbite designed to generate outrage and fundraising dollars for the squad. She used a serious economic hearing to launch a political attack on her congressional peers and ignored the hard truth policy fixes that Swaggle suggested. Ultimately, the segment showcases the frustrating disconnect in Washington. Serious, objective policy experts are forced to contend with politicians more interested in using the hearing as a stage to build their brand and attack opponents than to find real, workable solutions for the American people. It's time we demand better than political theater from our representatives. Let me know what you think of this whole exchange in the comments.